If just 1 out of every 25 Afrikaners moved to Orania, this small settlement's population would be larger than that of 13 different sovereign countries, including at least 6 European and African Union states. This reality reveals the hidden power of concentration politics. The Afrikaner as a nation's problem in South Africa today is not simply that there are few of them. The key problem throughout the history has been that we are too scattered over the country. Self-determination as a concept does not begin when millions move to a small area. It begins when a people learns to gather its numbers in one place. No matter where that place might be. It might be Orania, it might be any place else, just so long as there is a concentration. This is what we have learned from other countries that has established themselves in different territories over the past few decades or even centuries. Look at Israel, for example, starting out with very small spots within the territory of Palestine, or what was known as Palestine. Today, that territory that was known as Palestine just a few decades ago is now mostly Israel, while Palestine is reduced to a much smaller piece of land, but it all started out with these tiny spots. The Afrikaner is often presented as a helpless and tiny minority in a country where we are demographically overwhelmed. Indeed, the latest data shows that between 1996 and 2022, the percentage of white people in South Africa declined from 11% of the population to just under 7.5%. Given that Afrikaners account for around 60% of the country's white population, this means that we now number roughly 4.5% of this country's entire population, which is just about 2.7 million that still stay in the country. And of course, as we know from research done by Solidarity, for example, about 800,000 more living abroad in the diaspora. While this may sound like a very tiny and very insignificant minority in a very large country, we have to also read the data through the lens of the reality of the uneven demographic distribution of the people in Southern Africa. Stay tuned, because in today's video we are going to explore the fact that while the Afrikaner or the Boer people are a very small minority in the context of South Africa, we aren't a small people or a small nation at all when compared to many different European nations, for example. Let's highlight the real data in a way that many people have never seen before. When the first census in the history of South Africa, a year after the country was even formed in 1910, was done, the white share of the entire population within this geographical area that we now know as South Africa amounted to around 22%. The entire black population amounted to just 67%. Had it not been for the devastation of the Anglo-Boer War a decade earlier, the white population would have been closer to 25%. Nonetheless, despite genocide of thousands of Boer children and women in concentration camps, 1 out of every 3 people in the country back then was not black. And in the entire western half of the country, black people that now claim to own all of the land or have a claim to all of the land were but a very small minority in the majority of the area of the country. They were, according to the data, a small minority in the areas that would later constitute the Western and Northern Cape, as well as the western half of the Free State and much of the Transvaal of those days. The Cape Town electoral division, which roughly corresponds to the area known as the Cape Town Metropolitan Municipality today, was around 60% white, and around 40% were Malaysian or mixed race, which we now know as colours today. This means that Afrikaners formed a demographic majority or supermajority in and around Cape Town for well over 3 centuries, 300 years. Today, of course, things have changed dramatically, but the figures appear more dire than they truly are because of the geographic composition of the country known as South Africa today. We must remember that prior to 1910, South Africa didn't exist, and it was only created in 1910 as a composition of at least 13 different tribal kingdoms, Boer republics or sovereign republics, and British colonies, all now united under the British Crown into a single political entity. And this happened just over 100 years ago. Relatively a very short time when we talk about the formation of nations, nation-states and countries. For the very first time, the British now ruled it all. Everything from Cape Town in the south up all the way to what would become known as Zimbabwe and Botswana in the north. The only reason Rhodesia, today known as Zimbabwe of course, did not become part of this new massive multicultural union was that it was governed by a private company owned by a private individual, Cecil John Rhodes. Furthermore, Lesotho, Swaziland, today known as Eswatini, and Bechuanaland, today known as Botswana, each also maintained their status as special British protectorates under the direct governance of the British monarch. Now, suddenly, the Afrikaners, who had previously been either the demographic majority or very close to the demographic majority in their own republics, the Boer republics, as well as even the Western Cape, were reduced to about a quarter of the population of the Union of South Africa, a territory the size of at least 30 modern European states combined. That's right, you can fit 30 different European countries into the territory that makes up the country of South Africa today. Within the context of this project of the Union of South Africa, Afrikaners were doomed from the start, to be honest. But the reality is that even today, we aren't a small people compared to most other nations in the world. Take Pretoria, for example. It is estimated that nearly 1 million Afrikaners live in Pretoria today. This means that there are more Afrikaners in the city of Pretoria than there are Dutch people in Amsterdam, and more Afrikaners in Pretoria than there are Norwegians in Oslo. Consider then the Afrikaner town of Orania, for example, which now has a population of around 3,500 Afrikaners according to their latest census. This is shockingly, of course, less than 0.2% of the Afrikaner population of South Africa alone, not even counting the diaspora or the 800,000. This means the population is only about 0.1% of the total Afrikaner population if you include the massive diaspora living abroad. But the power of concentration politics suddenly becomes evident when you consider that if only 4% of Afrikaners were to move to Orania, and that means 96% of Afrikaners remain living outside of Orania, Orania's population would be larger than 13 different sovereign states, including 6 other African states and 6 other European states. If only 4% of Afrikaners were to suddenly move to Orania by some magical reason, the settlement would be larger than the population of Seychelles, which is a full member of the Southern African Development Community. Its population would also be larger than that of European Union member states such as San Marino, Monaco, Liechtenstein and Andorra. Furthermore, in this scenario, Afrikaners would effectively constitute the majority of the population of the entire Pixley-Kamele district municipality. An entire district municipality that is about the size of countries such as Liberia or Benin. And remember, this would be the reality even if 96% of Afrikaners choose not to move to Orania and 4% choose to move there today. What people often realize is that even today there are hundreds of nations all around the world that are much smaller in size than the Afrikaner people. The Afrikaner people as a whole are larger in numbers than the Macedonians, the Albanians, the Lithuanians, the Slovenes, among many other European countries. In fact, very few European nations are larger than the Afrikaner people. Moreover, South Africa's total white population is more than the total population of no less than 20 different sovereign European states. Furthermore, South Africa's Afrikaner population alone is more than the total population of no less than 15 other African countries, including countries such as Mauritania, Gambia, and Namibia. When we consider South Africa's demographics and when we consider the practical steps needed to secure Afrikaner self-determination and a future for our children, we have to take the data I provided in today's video into account. We have to understand that the key challenge we face is not our numbers, as many are looking into, but our distribution across the country. And this could in turn also end up being a valuable lesson for other people striving towards self-determination around the world. In a recent video, we highlighted just how much of the phenomenon of white flight in South Africa is already reshaping this country's demographic landscape. Many small areas within this country is becoming very much majority white or Afrikaner because of the fact that so many people from all across the country are, and you can call it, fleeing to these areas already. In effect, there is already tens or even hundreds of Oranias popping up all over the country, just not formally recognized like Orania. You can check out that full, very interesting analysis, which we think you will benefit from a lot, by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now. And please do consider supporting the research we do here at the Willem Petzer Group. Simply follow the easy steps on the banner right below me to invest in us and help us pay our researchers' salaries and help us produce content like this every single day. Goodbye and God bless.